There comes a moment in every person's life when the greatest battle is no longer against the world outside of you. It is against the person you have allowed yourself to become. Not your neighbor, not your circumstances, not your past, not the economy, not your employer, not your family. The battle is with the habits you keep defending, the excuses you keep repeating, the fears you keep feeding, and the comfortable version of yourself that keeps whispering, tomorrow. If you want a different life, you must first become a different person, and becoming different is not always comfortable. Growth rarely begins with comfort. Growth begins when you become honest enough to look at yourself and say, there are things in me that must change. That is what it means to wage war against yourself. It does not mean hating yourself. It does not mean destroying your confidence or punishing yourself for every mistake. It means becoming strong enough to confront the parts of you that are keeping you weak. It means declaring that your excuses will no longer control your decisions. It means refusing to allow temporary comfort to steal permanent opportunity, because the truth is, you can have a dream and still be your own greatest obstacle. You can want financial freedom while continuing to waste your money. You can want a successful career while refusing to develop valuable skills. You can want a strong body while negotiating with yourself every morning about whether you should exercise. You can want peace while constantly feeding your mind with negativity. You can want a better future while spending every evening behaving like the future does not matter. The dream is not always the problem. Sometimes the problem is the person standing between the dream and its achievement, and that person is you. You must understand something very important. Life does not usually change when your circumstances change. Life changes when you change. A person who receives more money without developing discipline will eventually create new financial problems. A person who receives more opportunities without developing character will eventually waste those opportunities. A person who receives success without developing wisdom will often become a prisoner of the very success they once desired. So before you ask for more, ask yourself whether you are prepared to become more. That is where the real battle begins. You must wage war against procrastination. Procrastination is one of the most expensive habits a human being can develop because it charges interest. Every day you delay the important work, the price becomes higher. The book you should have written remains unwritten. The business you should have started remains an idea. The skill you should have learned remains unfamiliar. The conversation you should have had remains unresolved. The application you should have submitted remains unfinished. And eventually you look back and realize that the years did not disappear all at once. They disappeared one postponed decision at a time. You told yourself you would start next week, then next month, then next year, and suddenly you're standing in a future that was once your tomorrow. Do not make procrastination your lifestyle. When something important needs to be done, train yourself to move. You do not need to feel motivated every time. You do not need perfect confidence. You do not need perfect conditions. Sometimes you simply need to begin. The person who waits until they feel ready may wait forever. The person who begins while afraid often discovers that courage is built through action. You wage war against procrastination by doing the difficult thing before your mind has time to manufacture another excuse. Get up, make the call, write the page, study the lesson, submit the application, start the business, take the walk, have the conversation, do the work. Small acts of discipline create a powerful identity. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you become a little stronger. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach your mind that your own words cannot be trusted. And self-trust is one of the foundations of confidence. You cannot build confidence simply by telling yourself that you are great. Confidence comes from evidence. You become confident because you have watched yourself do difficult things. You have watched yourself wake up when you wanted to sleep. You have watched yourself save money when you wanted to spend. You have watched yourself remain silent when anger wanted to speak. You have watched yourself finish what you started. You have watched yourself continue when nobody applauded. That is where real confidence comes from. Not empty words, evidence. So wage war against the version of yourself that always chooses the easiest option. Comfort is not your enemy, but too much comfort can become your prison. There is nothing wrong with resting. There is nothing wrong with enjoying life. There is nothing wrong with taking a break. But when comfort becomes your highest priority, growth becomes impossible. The body becomes stronger through resistance. The mind becomes stronger through challenge. Character becomes stronger through responsibility. And a meaningful life becomes stronger through purpose. You cannot become extraordinary while constantly protecting yourself from discomfort. At some point, you must become willing to be uncomfortable. Read when you would rather scroll, work when you would rather complain, save when you would rather spend, practice when you would rather entertain yourself, tell the truth when a lie would be easier, wake up when the alarm rings, keep going when the results are slow. That is the war. and nobody can fight it for you. Your parents cannot fight it for you. Your friends cannot fight it for you. Your partner cannot fight it for you. Your government cannot fight it for you. The responsibility eventually returns to the person in the mirror, and that is not bad news. That is freedom, because if you are responsible for your life, then you have power over your life. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you can control what you do next. You cannot control where you were born. You cannot rewrite yesterday. You cannot control every person's opinion of you. You cannot control every economic condition. You cannot control every opportunity. But you can control your attitude. You can control your effort. You can control what you learn. You can control how you spend your time. You can control your habits. You can control whether you keep moving. That is where your power lives. And one of the greatest battles you will ever fight is the battle against excuses. Excuses are dangerous because they sound reasonable. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't know enough. I don't have the right connections. Someone else had an advantage. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm too young. Maybe the timing isn't right. Some of these statements may contain truth. Your circumstances may genuinely be difficult. Life is not equally easy for everyone. But difficult circumstances do not automatically mean impossible circumstances. You must learn to separate explanation from excuse. An explanation tells you where you are. An excuse tells you why you should stay there. Do not spend your entire life explaining why you cannot move. Ask yourself a better question. What can I do with what I have? That question changes everything. Maybe you cannot start with $1 million. Start with what you have. Maybe you cannot study for 6 hours every day. Study for 1. Maybe you cannot build the entire business today. Build the first piece. Maybe you cannot change your entire life this week. Change one habit. Do not underestimate small beginnings. A massive tree begins with a seed. A successful company begins with an idea. A strong body begins with one workout. A great book begins with one sentence. A new life often begins with one decision. The problem is that people often reject small actions because they want dramatic transformation. They want to wake up tomorrow as a completely different person. But transformation usually does not happen like that. It happens quietly. One decision, one habit, one disciplined morning, one difficult conversation, one book, 1 hour of focused work, $1 saved, one temptation resisted, one promise kept, then another, and eventually, the person you once wished to become begins to appear through your daily behavior. So stop waiting for a miracle to make you disciplined. Build discipline. Stop waiting for motivation to make you consistent. Build consistency. Stop waiting for confidence to make you courageous. Take courageous action. You do not need to feel powerful before you act. Sometimes you act, and then power follows. There's another enemy you must confront: your addiction to approval. Too many people are living lives designed for an audience. They choose careers because other people respect them. They buy things because other people will notice them. They hide their dreams because someone might laugh. They avoid taking risks because someone might criticize them. But think about this carefully. The people you're trying to impress are not going to live your life for you. They will not wake up in your body. They will not carry your regrets. They will not experience the consequences of your decisions. So why give them control over your future? You must learn to respect advice without becoming a prisoner of opinion. Listen, learn, consider, but ultimately take responsibility for your choices. There will always be somebody who thinks you're moving too slowly, somebody who thinks you're moving too quickly, somebody who thinks your dream is unrealistic, somebody who thinks you should choose something safer, somebody who remembers your old mistakes and refuses to believe you have changed. Let them think. Your responsibility is not to convince everybody. Your responsibility is to become better. Sometimes the most powerful response to criticism is improvement. Don't argue. Improve. Don't explain yourself endlessly. Improve. Don't spend your entire life trying to prove that the doubters are wrong. Build a life so meaningful that their opinions become irrelevant. And while you're doing that, wage war against comparison. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy gratitude and focus. You look at somebody else's finished chapter while you're living through your unfinished one. You see their success, but not their sacrifices. You see their house, but not their years of work. You see their confidence, but not the battles that built it. You see their results, but not their failures. Your journey has its own timetable. Learn from other people, but do not use their progress as evidence that you're failing. The only comparison that matters is this: who were you yesterday? Did you learn more? Did you become more disciplined? Did you become more patient? Did you make better decisions? Did you move closer to your purpose? That is the competition worth entering, you against your former self. You must become willing to defeat yesterday's version of you. If yesterday you wasted 3 hours, today waste 2, then 1, then none. If yesterday you avoided responsibility, today take responsibility. If yesterday you spent everything, today save something. If yesterday you reacted emotionally, today pause. If yesterday you quit after one failure, today try again. Progress is not always dramatic. Sometimes progress is simply refusing to repeat the same mistake. And this brings us to another battle. Your relationship with failure. You cannot build a remarkable life while treating every failure like a final verdict. Failure is information. It tells you something. Maybe your strategy was wrong. Maybe your preparation was insufficient. Maybe your timing was poor. Maybe you need a new skill. Maybe you need more patience. Maybe you need to try differently. But failure does not automatically mean you're a failure. There is a tremendous difference between failing at something and becoming identified with failure. You tried, it did not work. Learn, adjust, try again. The world belongs in many ways to people who can continue after disappointment. Anybody can be enthusiastic when everything is working. Character appears when the results are slow. Anybody can be disciplined for a week. Character appears when nobody is watching 6 months later. Anybody can talk about their dreams. Character appears when the dream requires sacrifice. So do not ask yourself only, what do I want? Ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice to become the person who can have it? That question is more important because every meaningful achievement has a price. Financial success requires financial discipline. Physical strength requires physical discipline. Intellectual growth requires mental discipline. Strong relationships require emotional maturity. Leadership requires responsibility. Peace requires boundaries. Freedom requires self-control. You cannot demand the reward while refusing the responsibility. You cannot want the harvest while refusing to plant. And you cannot become the person capable of carrying a great life while constantly avoiding the weight required to build one. Wage war against your distractions. We live in an age where distraction is everywhere. Your attention is being pulled in 1,000 directions. Messages, videos, notifications, arguments, entertainment, news, opinions, endless scrolling. And the danger is not that these things are always bad. The danger is that they can consume the hours you needed for something better. Your attention is your life. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If you spend your best mental energy consuming other people's lives, you may have very little energy left to build your own. Protect your mornings, protect your concentration, protect your goals. There are moments when you need to disconnect from the noise so you can hear your own thoughts. Sit quietly, think, write, plan, read, work. There is power in solitude because solitude gives you an opportunity to hear the truth without the crowd shouting over it. Ask yourself, what am I doing every day? Where's my money going? Where's my time going? What kind of people am I becoming? What habits are shaping my future? What am I avoiding? Those questions may make you uncomfortable. Good. Sometimes discomfort is the beginning of honesty. And honesty is the beginning of change. You must also wage war against your emotional impulses. You cannot build a great life by allowing every emotion to become a command. Feeling angry does not mean you must speak. Feeling afraid does not mean you must quit. Feeling tired does not always mean you should stop. Feeling tempted does not mean you must surrender. Emotions are real, but they do not always tell you what to do. Maturity is learning to feel something without becoming controlled by it. You can be angry and remain respectful. You can be afraid and still move forward. You can be disappointed and still continue. You can be tired and still honor your commitments. You can experience failure and still maintain your dignity. That is strength. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is the ability to govern yourself. And perhaps the greatest victory is self-government. Because what good is freedom if you cannot control yourself? What good is money if your impulses control your spending? What good is knowledge if your ego controls your decisions? What good is opportunity if laziness controls your behavior? The goal is not simply to become powerful in the world. The goal is to become powerful over yourself. That is a different kind of success, and it begins with your daily routine. Do not underestimate the ordinary day. Your future is being built in ordinary hours. The way you spend Monday morning matters. The way you spend Tuesday afternoon matters. The decisions you make when nobody is watching matter. Your life is not built primarily during dramatic moments. It is built through repetition. You eat once and it does not transform your body. You exercise once and it does not transform your health. You read one book and it does not transform your mind overnight. But repeated actions compound. That is the secret. Do something good long enough and it begins to become part of you. Do something destructive long enough and that becomes part of you too. Your habits are voting for the person you are becoming. Every day you cast votes. When you wake up early, you vote for discipline. When you keep learning, you vote for growth. When you save money, you vote for freedom. When you keep your word, you vote for integrity. When you forgive, you vote for peace. When you exercise, you vote for strength. When you procrastinate, you vote for delay. When you constantly complain, you vote for helplessness. When you surrender to every temptation, you vote for weakness. The question is not whether you're becoming someone. You are. The question is, who are you becoming? That question should stay with you, because one day your habits will become your character. Your character will influence your choices. Your choices will shape your circumstances, and your circumstances will shape the experience you call life. So begin the war today, not tomorrow, not when the new month starts, not after the holiday today. Choose one weakness. 1. Do not try to conquer your entire personality in one afternoon. Choose one thing you know is holding you back. Maybe it is procrastination. Maybe it is uncontrolled spending. Maybe it is excessive entertainment. Maybe it is negative thinking. Maybe it is inconsistency. Maybe it is your unwillingness to learn. Maybe it is the habit of blaming everyone else. Choose it, name it, confront it, and then replace it with something stronger. Do not simply remove a bad habit. Build a better habit in its place. If you spend too much time scrolling, replace some of that time with reading. If you waste mornings, create a morning routine. If you spend too much money, create a simple budget. If you avoid difficult work, schedule it first. If you complain constantly, practice gratitude. If you fear rejection, deliberately practice taking small risks. You do not defeat weakness merely by saying no. You defeat it by giving yourself something better to say yes to. And remember this, you will not win every day. There will be mornings when you fail. There will be moments when you lose discipline. There will be days when you make the wrong decision. Do not turn one bad day into an identity. Get back up. The strongest people are not those who never fall. They are those who refuse to stay down. Do not make perfection your standard. Make progress your standard. You are not required to become a completely different person overnight. You are required to become slightly better today, then slightly better tomorrow, and again the next day. Imagine what happens when a person improves consistently for years. The transformation becomes enormous. That is the power of compounding. Small improvements become large differences over time. And the same is true in the opposite direction. Small compromises become large problems. One unnecessary purchase becomes a habit. One lie becomes a pattern. One missed workout becomes a month. One postponed responsibility becomes a lifestyle. Pay attention to small things, because small things are rarely small when repeated. So wage war against the little decisions that are quietly creating a life you do not want. And wage war against the belief that you have no control, you have more influence than you think. You may not control the entire world, you never will, but you can control your next move. And sometimes the next move is all you need. Take the next step, make the next call, read the next page, save the next amount, finish the next task, have the next conversation, learn the next skill. You do not need to see the entire staircase to take the next step. And if you continue taking steps, eventually you will look back and realize you have traveled farther than you imagined. That is how lives change, not through one magical moment, through thousands of ordinary decisions made with extraordinary consistency. So when you wake up tomorrow, do not ask, what do I feel like doing? Ask what needs to be done. There is a difference. Feelings change. Commitments remain. Your mood may tell you to stay in bed. Your purpose tells you to rise. Your fear may tell you to remain silent. Your vision tells you to speak. Your comfort may tell you to quit. Your character tells you to continue. You must decide which voice gets the final word. That is the war. And the battlefield is your daily life. Every morning gives you another opportunity to become disciplined, another opportunity to learn, another opportunity to repair, another opportunity to forgive, another opportunity to work, another opportunity to build, another opportunity to become the person you have been talking about becoming. Do not waste it. You have already spent enough time wishing. Now, build. You have already spent enough time explaining. Now, act. You have already spent enough time blaming. Now take responsibility. You have already spent enough time waiting for confidence. Now move with courage. You have already spent enough time fighting the world. Turn inward. Look at yourself honestly and say, I will not allow my weaknesses to decide my future. Say it again. I will not allow temporary comfort to steal permanent opportunity again. I will become the person capable of carrying the life I desire. And then prove it, not with words, but with your actions. Because ultimately, your life listens to what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally promise. Wage war against laziness. Wage war against fear. Wage war against procrastination. Wage war against distraction. Wage war against excuses. Wage war against the need for approval. Wage war against the habit of blaming. Wage war against the belief that you cannot change. But never wage war against your own worth. You're not your mistakes. You're not your failures. You're not your past. You're a person capable of learning, adapting, rebuilding, and becoming better. The goal is not to destroy yourself. The goal is to destroy the habits that are destroying your potential. And when you win that battle, something remarkable happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to respect yourself. You begin to walk differently. You begin to think differently. You stop asking the world for permission. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop being controlled by every temptation. You become dependable to yourself. And once a person becomes dependable to themselves, they become dangerous to their limitations. That is the person you should become. Not perfect, not invincible, but disciplined, responsible, curious, courageous, patient. Persistent, a person who can say, I gave my word to myself and I kept it. That is real power. So the next time you look in the mirror, do not only see the person you are, see the person you could become. Then ask yourself what must change. What must be sacrificed? What must be learned? What must be confronted? What must be abandoned? What must be built? And then begin. Because your future is not waiting for a better version of the world. Your future is waiting for a better version of you. The world may never become easier. There will always be problems. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be obstacles. But you can become stronger. You can become wiser. You can become more disciplined. You can become more prepared. And when you become stronger, the same obstacle that once looked impossible may eventually look like a lesson. That is the transformation. Not that life suddenly becomes easy. You become capable. So wage the war. Wake up and fight for your future. Study and fight for your mind. Work and fight for your dreams. Save and fight for your freedom, exercise, and fight for your strength. Think and fight for your peace. Practice discipline and fight for your character. And when you lose a battle, learn from it. When you win, remain humble. When you fall, rise. When you succeed, keep learning. When you become tired, rest, but do not surrender your purpose. Keep moving, keep building, keep becoming, because the greatest victory you will ever achieve may not be defeating another person. It may be defeating the version of yourself that was willing to settle, the version that said, good enough, the version that said, maybe someday, the version that said, I cannot, the version that kept waiting. Let that version of you become history. Not through hatred, through growth, not through punishment, through discipline, not through anger, through purpose. And one day you will look back at the person you used to be and realize something beautiful. The battle was never about destroying yourself. It was about freeing yourself from the habits that imprisoned you, freeing yourself from fear, freeing yourself from excuses, freeing yourself from the need to be understood by everyone, freeing yourself from the endless pursuit of comfort, freeing yourself to become what you were capable of becoming all along. So begin today. Choose discipline over convenience. Choose action over excuses. Choose learning over ignorance. Choose courage over fear. Choose responsibility over blame. Choose progress over perfection. Choose your future over temporary pleasure. And every morning when you rise, remember there is another battle to win. Not against the world, against the part of yourself that wants to remain exactly where you are. Win that battle today, then win it again tomorrow. And if you keep doing that long enough, you will eventually discover that the person you were fighting to become was never somewhere far away. That person was being built inside you, one disciplined decision at a time.